Hey everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how college applications soared once they removed the standard testing requirement. All right, welcome back. So let's take a look at college applications, what happened when they took down the SAT requirement here. Now, this is kind of interesting and it goes into kind of what has been happening in the e-learning world, okay? So just coming from the Slashdot article, it says applications surged after colleges started ignoring standardized test scores. Now, we all know that MIT did this, and MIT is a pretty big school. Obviously, it's one of the best of the best. It stopped requiring people to take the SATs. And one of the reasons they did this is because not everyone had access during the pandemic, okay? So that's actually not a terrible reason to do it here, but a lot of other schools have just nixed it all together. Now, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Now, I made a whole other video about this, but the thing is that when it comes to education, it's possible for people to go through a system, and that system may or may not be a good indicator of whether that person is going to be successful. And I'll use myself as an example here, right? And a lot of people that they see in these articles are kind of like me, right? So I'm not a very good person that did well on standardized tests, but you know, I usually work pretty hard and I would rather work on projects here. Now I'm older than a lot of people probably watching this, but anyway, projects weren't really as big of a thing in school. It was mostly about standardized tests. In fact, my high school, 50% of your mark was like one test. And that seems a little bit silly. Now, standardized tests are a good thing. If you're arguing that they're not, you're not really getting it, right? There has to be some kind of, well, standard that you hold everybody to, right? And of course, this is different from every different type of discipline here. When it comes to like coding, for example, having like a standardized test isn't a bad thing, but also your portfolio is a very big part of who you are, right? So if you have a person who's terrible at standardized tests, but can code really well, I would rather hire that person because mostly I look at the portfolio here, right? Now, and this happens a lot in computer science. Just because you have a computer science degree doesn't mean you're gonna be a great coder. If you can be a great coder without having a computer science degree. In fact, it might actually be better here. Now, what they're not really talking about here is like colleges are seeing that there is a drop of enrollment because they're so expensive and they're not leading to the gains they used to have here, right? If you go back, 20, 30, 40 years, if you just had a college degree, you would have a better life. And to be fair, today that's still the case. Now, I would also argue though, that when it comes to that particular issue, the thing is that if you can get into a college degree, you're probably going to do better in life altogether, right? Like it's not necessarily the college degree itself here, it's the person taking the degree. Now, of course, a good education will accent that person's success, but it will not make the person altogether, right? I mean, occasionally. Now, the whole point of college admissions is that's the most important part of college is the admissions because it's a filter for what they want here. And the more they filter, the better it is. And that's why, like, when you go to like MIT, again, the hardest part is getting in there. And once you're there, it's obviously a lot easier. Well, I shouldn't say it's a lot easier, but like the hardest part is the filter. And that's why these schools are doing what they do here. Now, once people realize that A, that school might cost too much, and B, you might be able to get better education online, right? Then that becomes an issue for them. And so that's a potential reason why these schools are dropping this requirement here. Now, this could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. What I do like about this, though, is that they are trying to, analyze people more than just their scores here. Because at least when I was going to school, it was very much about the standardized test, and it's less now. Now, again, I'm definitely not of the opinion that you should completely get rid of SAT scores or standardized tests. That would be a huge mistake, but I do like the way that this trend is going, right? And particularly, when it comes to any kind of discipline where you have to perform, like coding is a good example. Again, having a portfolio review is a lot better here, right? And what I guess no college would talk about is how much money have you made freelancing or with your business, right? So if I have an applicant that's right out of university, right? Or just like kind of 20 to 25 area, right? If I have an applicant there, what am I looking for? Okay, school. Did they go to school? Because if they went to school, it means that they are willing to kind of spend their time learning, which is huge, right? Now, of course, if they learned online instead, I would also take that. But if they went to school or learned from like an online course, that would be good too. The second thing is that I would look at their portfolio. The best portfolios that go to the top are incredible, would be the highest thing that I would look at. The third is how much money they made freelancing, right? If they made $20,000 freelancing, then that is a really good thing because I know that they can hustle, right? The fourth thing I would look at is if they started a business. If they started a business and made $5,000, $10,000, or even $50,000 or $100,000, that's also good too because I know they understand how business works, right? And then last, but certainly not least, the one thing I would absolutely make sure that a long-term hire would stay at my company is their soft skills or, power skills, as Udemy likes to put it. But anyway, it's the skills of interpersonal skills because you could have someone who's really smart, gone to a great school, made a lot of money in business, but they are a complete jerk. You do not want those people working for your company. And then sometimes you can get those people to work for your company and they'll produce results. But if you're a small business, you don't necessarily need that. You could probably find someone who's better with soft skills because at the end of the day, you do want to be good to work with. That's the number one thing, right? So all of those criterias are important here. And believe it or not, sometimes if someone has one of those items that is better than the other, it might be, they might be the better hire, right? There's a lot of things you need to think of here. But the thing is that a lot of people do fall through the cracks. School isn't always going to get it right. So what do you need to do here? The basic common thing when it comes to education is that you definitely need to be always learning. If you want a career, then you always need to be learning. If you want a job, that's great too. And remember, I've always said on this channel that if you just want like a job, not a career, because a career requires, constantly reworking yourselves, constantly learning. And a job is just kind of something you go to at the end of and then come home at the end of the day and kind of don't think about it here. Jobs are not bad, right? Not at all. It depends on you, what you want to do, right? And so when it comes to a career, you constantly have to be evolving and you constantly have to be learning. And if you're constantly learning, then you're going to be more successful here. And that is what, school's supposed to teach you. Now, again, I'm a little bit older than a lot of people probably watching this, but at a time here, the only way you could learn something was in a classroom because like online resources weren't as good. And like, that was kind of the mentality. You either learn in class or you don't learn at all, right? But that's no longer true. In fact, I learned this way back in the early to mid 2000s when I was going to university here. This is when online resources first started really coming out. And I actually started to use them instead of like the textbook. And I actually got better marks, right? So this is not something that's new here. So the thing is that going to school is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a really good thing. But the thing is that you have to do things outside because the system is old and antiquated and it doesn't really keep up with technology. And because it doesn't keep up with technology, and it doesn't keep up with the trends, you have to do that work yourself here. So the thing is that you have to go to school, get good marks, and do work at the end of it. If you're going to university, go all in, work all day, every day. And that is exactly what you want to do. When I went to university, I'd wake up at 6, come home pretty much at 9. In the evening, of course. So that's pretty much what I did. I just stay at school all day. And that's, and some of that was, of course, socializing, because that's also important too. Meeting connections is also important. But I spent the entire day at university. That's exactly what you want to do as well. So that concludes this video. I want to know your thoughts down below. Is taking the SAT away from college admissions a good thing? Please comment on this video because this channel doesn't get enough comments as it is. So please comment and I read all the comments. Also, if you really like this channel, you can pledge for our Kickstarter here. This is an amazing course where it's the complete Python for finance, trading, Web3, metaverse, and of course, machine learning. This is a huge bundle of courses with 10 different levels. If you ever want to learn to trade stocks, do algorithmic trading, learn Python, learn to code, Web3, metaverse, and machine learning, this bundle is for you. The more you pledge, the more courses you get. And all these courses are on sale. So please pledge for this. It really does help us out when you pledge for this project. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in another video.